The first component property is variant, which we have seen in previous part. Variants in basic terms are two or more instances of a master component which we can use in our design and change the properties between them to get the different result. To create the variants of the component, you can click on this plus icon in the top. This will add the variant to the component and then you can make the changes in it. Now when you drag and drop the instance, you will get this variant property drop down in the right panel, through which you can change the component states. You can rename this variant properties by double clicking on it, and also each individual variant by selecting it in the main component frame. The next component property is Boolean. It helps you to show or hide the component elements. Before seeing it, let's create a nested component. Create a button using auto layout. Now from the icon components, just take an icon instance you want and then drag and drop it in your button. And then duplicate it and move it to the left side of the button. Turn this button in component and you will get your nested component. Now to use the Boolean property, select this icon on left and in the right panel in this layers section, you'll see the option to create a Boolean property. Give it a name as icon left for the left side icon. If you change the value to false, then by default, it will hide the element in the master component frame. You'll see this property applied to the icon. Do the same for the right side icon by naming it as icon right. Now if you drag and drop the instance of this button, you'll get these toggle options to show or hide the icon on the left and icon on the right. Just like icons, you can set it to text or even the frame section in the component. The next property is instance swap, where you can assign a specific icon to that particular button. Let's say you have all the icons in your design system. But for the buttons, you are repeatedly using only 3 icons out of all icons. In that case, select our nested icon in the button and in the right panel, you'll see this instance swap property for it. Click on it and now you'll get these 3 options: name, value and preferred value for icons. Give this property a name, then for value, set any default icon. And in this preferred value section, if you click on this plus icon, you'll see all the icons components. And if you check the specific icons you are using repeatedly, it will start to add it in the preferred value section. Once that's done, click on create property. And now in the button instance, you'll get this instance swap property with that 3 icons selected. Just duplicate the button and directly swap the icon instances. The text property helps you to directly type the text from the right panel. You just need to assign the text in the button to the text property. Hold Ctrl and select the button text in our main master component frame, and in the right panel under the text section, you'll get this create text property option. Click on it and again you'll get the name and value options here. Give this property a name, and for the value, whatever you put here will be shown by default in our main master component. Let's put it as label and hit create property. And now if you drag and drop your button instance, you are able to directly type your button text here in this text property. And then if you hit enter, the text will be updated on that particular instance only. If you select the instance, you'll see this stack of all component properties. And if you want to reorder any of the property, just go to the main master component frame and in the right panel, you'll be able to drag up or down these properties. And the same order will be reflected in the instances as well. Now let's see these properties in action for creating input fields. We have our icon components here, the button with the icon instance here. Let's select all and turn it into component set. Select the first one and set the property as primary. And similarly for second and third button, set it to secondary and tertiary. Also double click and rename this property to state. Now let's create the input field. Type your title text and give it a size around 12. Then hold Alt and drag and duplicate this text. And here type your input placeholder text. Reduce its size and add an auto layout. Keep the paddings to a small number. Left align the content and set its width to 328 for now. Now again drag and duplicate the text. This will be the helping message for the input. Change its color to a slightly lighter color. Now the helping message will be left aligned and our next text will be right aligned. So add our helping message in an auto layout and set all paddings to 0. Type the next text as forgot password and change the color to your link color. Again add it to auto layout and set all paddings to 0. Now select all the content and again add an auto layout and reduce the gap between them. Now select these two frames and set the width resizing option to fill container. For the top one, set it to the left align and for the bottom one, set it to the right align and the default state for inputs is done. Now for the active state, just duplicate the above frame, select the input frame and add a stroke with a slightly lighter color. And change the fill to white. For the input text, type a vertical line or a pipe character. For the fill state, let's add the password masking symbol. Now if the heights are changed, just select the input frames and give it a fixed heights. For the error state, duplicate the fill state and change the stroke color to error color. And you need to change the helping message with the same color as well. And lastly, for the success state, just change those colors to your success colors. Select all the frames and from the components drop down, select the create component set option. Double click and rename the variants property to states. Then rename all the variants individually. The input field is looking empty, so let's add an icon on the left side and on the right side. Go to the Assets panel and from our Icons component, drag two icons. So by default, these icons are slightly bigger, so go to the Scale tool and scale it down around 16 pixels. Now drag and drop these icons to the left and to the right side in the input frame. Select the input text and set the width option to fill container. That way the icon in the right will be moved to the far right. Now copy and paste these icons in the remaining frames. Now assign the text property to the title. Just select all the titles and then in the right panel add a new text property for the title text. Similarly, do it for the input text, then for the helping message text. Now hit the Shift Enter and for the auto layout layers, add a Boolean property. Similarly, add a Boolean property for forget password frame. Now for the icons, let's add icon left and icon right Boolean properties as well. You can always reorder the properties by selecting the main master frame. Now if you drag and drop the instance, you'll get all the properties to control these instances. Now let's see a practical example by adding inputs and buttons in these frames to create a login and sign up screens. It is always good practice to use auto layout while creating these components in Figma. It will give you flexibility and more control over your design. And if you want to learn more about this auto layout feature in Figma, you can click and watch next this video.